Hello and welcome to another episode of my Not Your Average Bible Studies. My name is Allie with Marie Speaks, and this is session 26. Today is Sunday, May 25, 2025, and we're going to be kicking off chapter 14 in Matthew. As titled, in case anybody is new, this is not a traditional reading from a traditional person, is what I mean. I am new to the New Testament. This is my first reading ever. Of course, I've heard scriptures here and there, but I wasn't raised in a traditional Catholic or Christian background. I didn't do church or anything like that growing up. And so coming around to reading these after reading many different metaphysical books, theological books, scriptures, from all different cultures around the world at different times. And so I come to reading now this little pocket version, Gideon's King James Version Bible that I just came upon me freely. And so as it goes, as anybody who's not new here knows already, I struggled a bit or was on the fence with whether I was going to be doing anything like this or not, just because, some people don't like others from outside the club looking over what their club is all about, without first kind of taking like a death oath, like they'll die for it, or, but for me, it's, I'm not so restrictive in any of my beliefs and ideologies. I've always had a very open stance and an open mind. And so that's what I'm coming to this with and reading. So if you are a returning audience and you like my reading so far, I really appreciate you so much. And thank you for returning. If you are brand new, that's my little disclaimer before we get started. So, listener beware. You have been forewarned. If for any reason anybody has comments or corrections, even whatever kind of replies or insights that you'd like to offer to a newbie like me, I would always love to hear them. Feel free to leave them in the comments or send me messages directly. My email's always in the description. You can find me on Telegram. Marie Speaks over there. And let's get down to what we're here to do, I guess. And that is to read Matthew 14. See how far we get through it. And also, just to excuse myself for mispronunciations or anything like that here at the forefront, especially with names. Some people, if you're traditional and you grew up around hearing these names all the time, you know the correct way to say them, or how they're supposed to be pronounced, and maybe stories behind them and stuff like that. A lot of these figures and names I don't. I am doing my own kind of study research behind a lot of this stuff in the interim, in between weeks, and doing some historical learning behind the scenes, which is just so amazing. But yeah, truth be told, I am just a mere student here. Please excuse mispronunciations and don't let it, I hope, distract too much from the truth of the words, which is what we're really here to hear and talk about anyways. And this is, I think 14 gets a little bit into, it's like social dramatics again, right? Like the beginning of Matthew was, and I mentioned when I first started reading these first chapters, being an outsider person who's not familiar with the plot line and all of the names and characters to come into play. It's confusing, but anyway, just to air that out. And forgive me, I am having my morning coffee here too, and I'm not going to bother to edit some of it. So forgive me for some pauses and things. Let's get started here. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Jesus and said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do shew forth themselves in him. And, this is so interesting, especially when we think back in that time and into what could have been like in Rome, in the culture, in the whole span of the sort of Mediterranean into the Middle Eastern areas. It's, a whole different playing field. And honestly, when we start to look at it, even these days, it's almost like it's uncomparable and unknowable, really, because there's just been so much degradation, so much erasure and reprint and corrections and translations and misnomers and changes and all this kind of things, right? Lots of it done, I believe, on purpose, to create confusion, to create the blurry places so that what is written on top of it, the controlled portions of it, could be put in control mechanisms. And here we have Jesus talking just about these same exact things, about comparing to the Old Testament and to what all is happening with the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Roman Senate, and the everyone else. There's so many names and so many other groups and people that we could call out and say, but just like today's day, there's still truth, and it can be spoken quite plainly. And in fact, their words, what they are trying to say, are their truths. They hide behind things, and so when we poke out the whole truth and they get mad because there's nowhere to hide about it, it's like, you should actually be mad that you're hiding from your own truth, not at me for pointing that out, because you're the one doing it, But anyways, same old song and dance. Doesn't matter who's wearing the hats, right? Or the clothing or whatever. Anyways, so it's no surprise that they see sort of casting out of a guilty conscience, casting blame and having worry over what's been done to John the Baptist and what he could have represented and what he was all about and what truth he was speaking, and how, they subdued him. And, no wonder that the next figure face becomes an immediate threat as well. Not to say that, or not to lay claim that Jesus maybe wasn't who, everyone says he is anyways. And in that way, if he is and was, you better be scared. You were right to be, and you were right to be threatened in that. But again, it doesn't make right what you've done because of that feeling of threatenance. You should have acknowledged your lies in the first place and provide the corrections that needed to happen. But no, they don't want to do that. And just like the fall of Rome and just like the fall of the temple in Jerusalem, all of this stuff came to fruition. It's teetering. It's, the Lincoln logs that are falling apart here, but it's still to come. But Jesus knew, just like John the Baptist knew. And just like these days, we have quite a few fringe people out in the woods. They've been saying the same thing for years and years. Even before 9/11, we had plenty of people who knew what was coming. But again, they have to speak these things out. Okay, anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent on negative alignments and the archons and all of their trickery. And it's a blessed Sunday. Let's bring it back to goodness and find the goodness in it here. So anyways, they are threatened by Jesus, of course. For Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, for his brother Philip's wife. For John had said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. So typical, right? But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodas, oh my gosh, I don't even really know how to say that, so I probably sound retarded. Excuse me. Danced before them and pleased Herod, whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. Just to think, okay, and yeah, we can see it kind of with the Holly Weirdo kind of class, the celebrity classes, and all the kids, and them having children and putting them all over social media, and really riding the curtails of them and using children for their own benefit to how and why this gets done. You know, I wouldn't say this is unbelievable. Prior years in my younger days, you know, when I might have looked at that and I could see how anybody reading scripture, you know, before it's been so blatant in our faces these days, could kind of say, oh, like that's terrible, or how could we could really kind of look back at the theory that Romans before us or the Middle Ages, they fell into this, that British people before us, these long before ancestors, that they're really kind of dumber than us, that they weren't as smart as us, you know, and it's like they were more carnal, they were more directly focused on, you know, the world and literal things, and that they didn't understand philosophical, metaphysical things, that they didn't have kind of the IQ capacities that we have these days. And yet, I think that's kind of a falsity that we do there, to misinterpret history and to make it more convenient to put that, oh, only bad things happen in the past. Oh, we know better than that now. Oh, we would never do that now. Oh, we're civilized now. Over here, it's different. You know? But it's not. It's not. You know? Unless for you it is. Like, I know I could speak from myself with my own sons, that I chose not to teach them negativity, violence, self-hatred, hatred of others, not to seek instant gratification, victory, dominance over others, you know, mastery and slavery. I'm trying to teach them to step out of that. I'm trying to teach them about sovereign freedom, the right to pursuit of happiness and the happiness of those around them, and to build up others and to find what they love and go for it, find who they love and serve them. And to know that there's a great creator above to always serve, who always sees your service, even if there's nobody around who feels good enough to promote service or feels like you know what's to do. There's always something inside you already, given and knowing, just like your DNA, just like your body knows how to grow up, just like your nose has know how to form, and a beard will know how to grow for you. You know, you will find what you need to do. And it doesn't come from anywhere outside. It comes from the inner whisper. It comes from the dark conversation in the heart, in the mind, in your ear. Just like Jesus has said numerous times to his disciples and to the multitudes. It's a teaching for all to know the Father, to recognize. It's a choice for everyone to acknowledge that partnership, to reach up and take the hand. No one else can say, no, you're not worthy of that handshake. Oh, your handshake doesn't count. It's not real. You imagined yours. It's not as firm as mine. Oh, he gave me a better one. Oh, he put a little thumb. He coaxed my finger with his thumb. It's a secret handshake. You don't know about that one yet. Oh, no, I didn't get the coax of the thumb. I got a wiggle of a ring finger on mine. That I'm higher than you. And here we go with the 10 times 10, putting on top of everything, trying to make people better than others. Pig pile, and who's the fattest is on top. And it's just it's so incorrect. It is it's a lie from the immediate start. And I feel like it's ungrateful. It's a revoke of that handshake. Actually, you're trying to pull God closer to you, and that's very unfair. You're supposed to empower and lift ourselves up with his hand on his path. You know, we don't pull him down onto ours. But anyways, now I'm sorry. I'm a bit on a bit of a defensive mode lately. Energy wise, I guess it's, and to bring in social dramatics and the times, and to be talking about the times are running so parallel to these ancient times, you know. I can't help but get a little riled up. Forgive me. But anyway, so the daughter's asking for the head on the plate, right? Head on a platter here in a charger. Even worse than head on a platter, really. In a charger, she wants a whole procession in front of it, you know, to make a whole deal of it as well. And this is the issue, and this is the same thing when you go in and look in these deep things about Pilate and or Pilate, however you say his name, and Herod, and they always seem to be like regretful behind the scenes. They're always like, there's always this seated knowing that they're doing something wrong. You know, it's like, then why are we doing it? But anyways, let's see. I'm picking back up in verse 9. I had read 8. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given to her. And he sent and beheaded in John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it, and went and told Jesus. You know, and I just look at it, I don't want to sound over promoting or anything, but this is a bit like all of those truth tellers who've disappeared, who've been suicided, who've been taken out, who've been silenced, all of those doctors and those whistleblowers and people behind the scenes who know the truth and speak out about all of the atrocities happening. They know that the retribution's coming, unfortunately, because it's an unjust, corrupt system, and they know they will chase them down. They have the capacity, they have the budget, they have the time, they have all of it to come and get you. The point is that we tell the truth anyways. The point is that you stand with him anyways, right? And so much like Jesus must have felt, and John the Baptist knew, you know, that what it is to have to die for things. You can't let that scare you. And in fact, when it doesn't scare you, it scares them even more, as we come to see, right? And I brought up Pilate before. It becomes like the fear in not complying is almost outweighs the fear of it being true, you know? It's what a crazy predicament, a rock and a hard place to be stuck in. This is, you know, why I try to stick by truth and get caught up in these corners. Anyways, let's see. Let's keep going for a few. And when Jesus heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude, and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages, and buy themselves victuals. But Jesus said unto them, They need not depart. Give ye them to eat. And they said unto him, We have here but 5 loaves, and 2 fishes. He said, Bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass, and he took the 5 loaves, and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and he gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up the fragments that remained, 12 baskets full. This is amazing, and this same teaching, this same miracles are told in different scenes and at different times, and it's so amazing, the abundant truth of knowing, you know, this sort of example of it, you know, the manifestation of it, such a miracle, such a blessing, and such a wonderful expression to carry forth, because it really does stand the test of time, and it really does speak quite plainly about what honest and abundance is and where true surplus comes from. God, creator, source. It's not even of this reality. In fact, it kind of breaks the rules of this reality if it wants to, or he wants to. Let's see. And all 12 baskets full, yeah. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Imagine that. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. I love this second reading here. We're 20 minutes in. I do need to let it go for today. I'm a little pressed for time, and this is one of my favorite scenes. So I'll leave it there, because I would like a lot to talk about this one to come here. So I will leave it here, and just to say that one thing I find the teachings, the expression and manifestation of miracles, to be happening in these spurts, and then after the divine miracles take place, the proof is given. Jesus takes time alone. His disciples take time alone. The multitudes are sent back to normalcy. There's always a point of integration, this quiet time of contemplation, inwards, listening, and combing through, absorption, right? And he really encourages it every single time and goes through it himself. And I think it's so important. It's so crucial into our own workings, into our own practices, even to your own readings of scripture, of important words, of spiritual things, of things that are heavy and meaningful, right? That we don't just go through them quickly, that they aren't just understood straight away, and that's it. No, they're deep. They're seeds. They come in and they grow later. And we have to give time for that. You can't just will a tree to be an oak tree just because you have the walnut in your hand and you know it grows into this tree, and this tree will look like this and be this tall, on average. Just by the knowership and putting it in the ground, you can't snap your fingers and that tree is there tomorrow. It still takes all of the years, 30, 40 years to grow. Time has to come, and I think our inspirations, our understandings, our spiritual knowledge, all of the wisdom that comes through study of scripture to find truth is like that. And we find the truth more deeply. We never can get lost or taken away from the truth when we take the time to go inwards with it and truly listen. It's the external talking overs. It's the external deviations and additional distractive distortions that get us away from true truth that becomes the issue that happens, right? But more clarity, is actually paradoxically found inside, in the darkness, in the quiet. So with that, I'll leave us there for us all to spend time with quiet contemplation and restful peace of mind in a sacred sanctuary type of energy and space here on Sunday. I hope you can find some reverence for yourself and spend a few moments or a lot of time, even if you have great time to do that. It's always wonderful. Thank you for joining me here for this, for listening to my own thoughts and to listening to these collective thoughts here together. If you are looking for anything from me in the interim, like I mentioned, there's those links and details in the description to find me in whatever avenue you so choose. But otherwise, I will leave it there for today. Thank you for your audience and energy. Thank you for your beautiful contribution to our collective. We certainly would not be the same without you. And thank you for witnessing mine. I will see you next time.